He's the author of the book, The Real Hank Aaron, an intimate look at the life and legacy of the home run king, the Reverend Al Sharpton, back with us as well. Terrence, it's great to see you. We'll talk about the World Series in just a minute, but all of us on set are so fascinated by your book because he's such a hero, I think, to a lot of us, Hank Aaron. And boy, you have a great personal story of being a fan as a kid and then developing a relationship with Hank Aaron to the point where you were a pallbearer. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, you know, Willie, being a spiritual person, I don't think there's any such thing as coincidence. So as you say, I went from being a 12-year-old kid back in 1968, diehard Hank Aaron fan. I got this poster, which I still have, and then, as you say, being an honorary pallbearer. And so the book is about that and everything in between. And the thing is, Hank always saw a symmetry between himself, Jackie Robinson, his idol, and myself, being a trailblazing black sports writer for 45 years, most prominently being the first African-American sports columnist in the history of the Deep South, 25 years Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a lot of racial strife inside and outside the paper for me, and Hank helped me through that entire period.
So, Terrence, I think I grew up in the suburbs of Atlanta back when Doraville was the outskirts of Atlanta, and I grew up a Braves fan. Hank Aaron was my hero, all-time sports hero. I always tell this story, though, about Hank, the humanity of him. You know, I'd write letters to all the sports, you know, my favorite baseball players, and they would stamp their signature. Somebody would stamp signature, send it back. Hank Aaron, in the spring of '74, I said, dear Mr. Aaron, I'm your biggest fan. This guy had the weight of the world coming down. I'm afraid he was going to be like shot by a white supremacist while he was chasing Babe Ruth's record. I said to him, he alone sends me back his color picture. Dear Joey, thank you so much. All my best, Hank Aaron. I'm telling you, 50 years later, 55 years later, it touches me that I had no idea what he was going through. Talk about what he was going through chasing Babe Ruth leading up to April 8th, 1974.
Well, you know, I'm going to tell you a couple of things about that. And you know, I was closer to Hank Aaron than any other reporter, you know, for 40 years. And every time I talked to Hank, which was considerable, he always told me something that I didn't know before, something I had never said before, one of which was his last interview he ever did in his life was with me at the end of the fall of 2020. And he talked about that chase, the Babe Ruth chase, and no one really understood how much that pained him all the way through, and it's all detailed in the book. But he told me that the thing he always resented was watching a Pete Rose or Cal Ripken Jr. or Mark McGwire have the time of their lives, and he could not enjoy his moment. So that was always something that was concerning him. The other thing about Hank, you know, that always bothered him, and then this is plays into right now, we've got no African Americans on either team of the World Series as far as a player is concerned, first time since 1950. Hank always believed that Major League Baseball was purposely phasing out African Americans, and that goes back to 1982 when we first met to his death. You know, and back in the '82, I worked for the San Francisco Examiner. I did this detailed study on African Americans in baseball because in the mid 1970s, the African American population in baseball, player-wise, was 25%, had dropped down to 19% in 1982. So I'm calling all these people to find out what this was all about, including Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron, Frank Robinson, Joe Morgan, prominent players, and they all believe that Major League Baseball had a quota system to force out African Americans, and they all said by the turn of the 21st century, it would drop down below 10% where it is right now.
Terrence, you know, I can remember around not about 3 or 4 years before Hank's passing, I happened to get on an airplane and he was seated there. And we sat together, and he talked all the way about his concern about race in baseball and race in the sports, and I can identify with that. And I remember I was 19 when he broke the record of Babe Ruth, and I talked to him. I told him, I said, man, you don't know how excited we were when you broke that record. And I said, I remember my mother was most excited when one time Jesse Jackson brought us, when I was a young youth lead under him, to Jackie Robinson's house. And he wanted to talk to me about how Jackie Robinson treated me. He seemed, as you say, he was such a fan and felt he was the next guy after Jackie Robinson. He wanted more details on Jackie Robinson than he would ever talk to me about him. And I was sitting there trying to glean more about him. But and it occurred to me that's the kind of guy he was.
Yeah, you bring up this Jackie Robinson thing, and I love that you did that because this is the 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier. And again, that was Hank's idol. And people don't give Jackie enough respect for what he did away from baseball as much as he did for breaking the color barrier. And I bring that up because Jackie Robinson was a civil rights leader, as you know, Reverend Allen and others on the panel. And so in 1972, October of 1972, after Jackie Robinson died, Hank Aaron went to Willie Mays and Ernie Banks and said, look, now that Jackie has died, it's up to us to carry on his causes for civil rights. And Hank told me that both Ernie Banks and Willie Mays said they weren't going to do it because they didn't want to harm their image. And this tells you what kind of person Hank was. Hank said, you know what? I'll do it myself. And I want to tell you something, and I have this in the book. I was a Hank Aaron whisperer. Whenever Hank wanted to get something out there, he would come through me. So after he retired in '76 and became an executive of the Braves, he was very outspoken about baseball and racism and how they treated black players and just people in general. And when I would get the stuff out there, I would get blasted and he would get blasted because people thought he should keep his mouth shut. So in many ways, he was LeBron James before LeBron James and Colin Kaepernick before Colin Kaepernick.
Wow.
I'll tell you one thing, Joe.
Yeah.
Hank Aaron, in terms of the nobility of sports and the nobility of a human being, unmatched.
Yeah.
Unmatched, Jonathan.
Gonna have
What a
him
hero.
Beyond a Hall of Famer, an American hero, civil rights icon, and extraordinary ball player and person.
Good guy.
And as Rev said, the humility as well. He carried it. He carried it. Again, being in Atlanta, he carried it so extraordinarily well.
The book is The Real Hank Aaron, an intimate look at the life and legacy of the home run king. Terrence Moore, thank you very much for being on today.